So good evening, everyone. I'm Chetan. I'm Program Manager and Integrated Transport Road Safety at WRI India. I'll be hosting this exciting webinar today. As we have some time to begin, if in the chat box, you could put your name, what you do, and which city you are joining from. And if possible, along with that, if you could share something about with the lens of nostalgia of how was your journey to school as a child. Did you feel safe or unsafe on that commute? And what was the reason behind it? We would also like our panelists to share similar experiences in the chat so that others can take a look at what these were. Let me start by sharing my example. I grew up in Mumbai, and my main commute to school was with the BEST bus. So that's the bus service in Mumbai, followed by walking as the last mile. Back then, it felt quite safe. But when I look at the same route now, today, the high volume traffic and increased speeds, I honestly won't feel that comfortable sending my nephew or niece the same way. I'll be worried about their safety. So I would like all of our um, attendees here, as well as panelists, to please share their experiences also in the chat. And if you have not grabbed a cup of coffee or tea, maybe this is the best time before we start. You can do that. But we'll be really looking forward to your experiences in the chat to understand how your commutes to school were, how safe did you feel, and how exactly you felt about going to school in that kind of a commute. You can compare them with your current experiences of the same space as well. But yeah, before we start, if you can start doing that, it'll be really good. Yeah, thank you. And just for the beginning, everyone who have joined late and might not have seen, but you see chat filled up with something. So we've requested all to share a small thing about themselves and their experience of how did they go to school and how safe or unsafe their commute was and some reason about it. But now back to our session. So good evening, everyone. I'm Chetan Sode, Program Manager, Integrated Transport and Road Safety at WRI India. And I'm delighted to be your host for today's webinar, Policy to Practice, Designing Safer Streets to Schools, hosted by WRI India in partnership with Humanqind. Before we begin, let's take a moment to reflect on why we are here and why is this topic so important. So across India, road traffic incidents involving children remain a serious concern. Too many young lives are lost or impacted every year on our streets, especially in our urban areas, where the daily journey to schools can still be a little unsafe and unpredictable. There's a recent revision of IRC SP 32/2023, the guidelines for safer commute to schools. So IRC are national overall assumed guidelines that most of our cities follow. So this particular guideline is a good welcome step forward, strengthening our focus on pedestrian safety with well-defined school zones and more inclusive street design. And alongside this, there are other codes like the IRC 103 guideline for pedestrian facilities, which also play a critical role in terms of understanding how we shape the walking environments for all. However, while these codes provide a valuable framework, they might not yet have a cover or every context and challenge that we see in our cities. There are still opportunities for refinement and adaptation to ensure they truly respond to the diverse realities of our cities, especially for vulnerable users like children. That's exactly what we explore today. How we move from policies to and guidelines to practical, consistent, and large-scale implementations on the ground. And we are joined here by a diverse audience like students, professionals, academicians, city officials, along with our esteemed panelists and decision makers who have been leading the way in creating safer streets for all and more inclusive as well. Before we start, a small thing. So everyone, while you look forward towards all the questions, all the sessions, as well as the context setting presentations, the questions have to be typed only in the Q&A box. And panelists, feel free to respond to these questions in the Q&A box. Our team will shortlist a few to discuss at the end of the webinar as the time permits. If you like a question, you can upvote it during the presentation or context going on at the moment. And please feel free to also chat and interact in the chat box where make sure your messages are to everyone, if possible, panelists and attendees as well. So with that, let's get started. I would like to invite Pawan Mulukutla, to share the welcome address. Pawan is the Executive Director, Integrated Transport, Clean Air and Hydrogen at WRI India. Thank you, Pawan, for joining us today. Over to you.
Thank you, Chetan, and a warm welcome to everyone. I think I'm seeing a presentation slide. Okay, yes, spotlighted me now. Yeah, no, thank you. No, good afternoon, everyone, and I think it's a very apt topic that we are discussing today, from policy to practice, and how do we actually design streets for school children. I think that becomes extremely important, and just to reveal some of the statistics and numbers, right? Like in the last decade, between 2011 and 2022, almost 1.98 lakh children and adolescents lost their lives in road crashes. And the fatalities in the 14 to 17 age group more than doubled in this period, as per study done by NIMHANS and UNICEF, which was released in earlier this year. So I think that's one important thing in terms of why I think it becomes so critical and it's so important at all. And then if you look at 2022, just this is the data from Ministry of Road Transport, that over 7,000 children lost their lives under the age of 18 in road crashes across the country. And we are talking about India, which has almost 472 million children, and about 128 million are living in urban areas. So I think there is such a critical aspect to prioritize child-centric street design. And I don't think it's more pressing than ever before on how do we really prioritize this thinking. I think we all have the knowledge. There are best practices that are available. Many of the organizations are actually working on this. It's glad to see many of you join this conversation, and I'm sure in the panel discussion we'll do. I think we need to, the request for the panel and as the brainstorming is, how do we actually make this part of our municipal budgets? How do we really make this a priority for our city governments? How do you really bring back that focus? And I also that's one aspect of it in terms of funding, but I also feel, how do you really get schools involved in this, right? Like if schools actually take this as an action and actually say that we will, can we actually think, Chetan, you asked me for welcome, but I'm actually even trying to do a call for action, because the topic itself is very painful for all of us, right? As a parent, I understand, every time my child is stepping out, and I think the biggest fear I have is about road crash. And the question, the way we really need to deal with it is, yes, there is role for city governments, but there is also role for citizens to play, for schools to be active. I don't think we can all play a role of being indifferent to the problems that we are actually facing, right? We really need to think through, how do we each come together and contribute to this and make this actually as a campaign in our cities and really make this happen. So I think identifying roles and responsibilities, the knowledge to make this happen exists, the funding to make this happen also exists, but I guess the prioritization to make this happen is what actually is the will that needs to be created, and it has to be a collective action that we need to do. So with that, let me welcome you all. I look forward to learning and hearing from each one of you and see how we can come together. It's great to see that more than 100 people have joined in this session right now. And let's I would also say, learn from each other, brainstorm, and see how we can collectively take action in different parts of our country, in different cities that we live in. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Pawan, for that exciting start point for all of us to look at. And with that, I would want to start with a presentation set. So Avtar, my colleague, he's also program manager at WRI India for integrated transport and road safety. Avtar, you could start with your presentation. Yeah, over to you,
Thank you.
Avtar.
Thank you so much, Chetan, and thanks, Pawan, for giving that insight. That was indeed a painful topic for all of us, and yes, some of the efforts has been done. So today we'll talk about from starting from the point of policy to practice. So here, is the schedule of the presentation. So first presentation is the key highlight from the document which is issued by IRC, which is called SP32, Safer Commute to School. And then our partner Ruchi will present, and then will be a panel discussion followed by a final thought and call to action, which Pawan has mentioned by Professor Keertan Tiwari, ma'am. And then we'll close this session. So starting from the policy guideline, I'll start with this thing. This is guideline for safer commute to school. I'll run through a brief history of Indian Road Congress, who issues guidelines, and in road safety and other aspects, they work on all the premises. So this technical body of highway engineers was formed in 1934, and 73 members were mainly consisted of engineers, and the objective of this body was to standardize the road engineering process through efficient planning, construction, and other techniques. So, outcome, as we can see now, the 5.5 million kilometers of road built across the country, and ISA guideline in some form used across India by all road agencies. So in a meanwhile, there is a hierarchy to it. So the IRC has three apex committee. One is HSS, VSS, and GSS. So these are highway specification, bridge specification, and general specification. So this guideline particularly works under H8 committee, urban road and streets and transport, which looks towards the intervention of road safety as well. In IRC 32, road safety for engineer, this road safety for children for earlier guideline was published in 1988, and the second revision has been done in 2022. So even the name has been changed from road safety for children to guideline for safer commute to school. In the previous guideline, there was a main focus on that, many of these accidents or crashes occurs because of the children do not follow the rules on the road. And as per our experience, we cannot expect school-going children like to have, they are superior in knowledge, they have good understanding of things, but we can't set that expectations out of kids to to see that part. So in the first revision, I'll just go through this thing. The ISC 32 1988 taken up for revision in 2019. WR India made a pitch at 8 H8 for a new school zone design guideline road department. This revision was led by CRRI. WRI India led the work for School Zone Guide. The team was WRI India, 3M, 3CRRI, and Samarthyan. In 2022, HSS requested the merger of SP32 and School Zone Guideline. Therefore, the name changed from Road Safety for Children to Guideline for Safer Commute to Schools. Let's go to the need of that revision. As Pawan has already said, the parameters like why it was required. So previous approach for the previous guideline was primarily focused on educating children about the traffic rule. However, global best practices and road safety orders have highlighted the effectiveness of child-centric infrastructure design. The revised guideline represent a paradigm shift from educating children about traffic safety to proactively designed road infrastructure. So for that thing, even this was the major change: how to cross the road, where to cross the road, where to walk, where to play, cycling, traveling by bus, to children and vehicle driver as road user, defining a school zone, principle for safer zone design, stakeholders for safer school zones, and road engineering and traffic management. This was the key parameters which we all as a team worked on that. And then artwork for school zone, traffic and safety learning, park and patrol team, and parents and children as a part of stakeholder towards that. So what defines a school zone? So our in SP32, it defines it in the three parameters. So one is school access zone. This may be understood as a road leading to every entrance of the school, extending 100 meter on either side of school entrance. Then the school proximal zone, which is maybe understood as the area of the school, which will most of the students of the school will be present on road as they commute between home and school, either by walk, cycling, or public infrastructure. Then comes the transition zone. It can be understood as a length of road to a SPZ, which is school proximal zone, along with which motorists should be made aware about the special nature of the approaching zone. So these are the parameters which defines the school zone. Then a special condition was introduced. If an intersection is situated between 20% of the applicable zone radius, then SPZ shall have extended till 30 meters beyond all arm of the on the intersection in the direction of moving away from the school. So this even a public transit as a school bus stop or metro station or anything is coming as a transit hub nearby, operated intermediate paratransit school is situated between 20% of the applicable zone radius. Then the SPC shall be extended, include such type of public transport stop as well. So in principle, these three simple ideologies were received and we have incorporated in our guidelines. So one is simplify. Overburdening children and motorists with excessive information and design element can be counterproductive. Distraction may be dangerous for both children and motorists. This approach thus entails reduction of elements of road itself. Then second part comes shielding. This approach is for distancing children from potential harm, crash barriers, reduction of conflict points, and some example of protecting children from various form of potential harm. And then the last thing is cushion. Since children lack adequate internal protection from the vital organs, these should be remain some intervention to reduce severity of the possible crashes by reducing the speed along the school zone. So then comes that active principle has been applied. There was a time to identify stakeholder for the school zones. So even road owning agencies like PWD, especially in Delhi, urban local bodies, municipal corporation, local panchayat, and all these road owning agency can be part of that. And Department of Education leads a school management nodal agency, which demarks the location and orientation of the entry exit of the thing of the school. Then comes the road users, student, parents, and others. And then non-government organizations, civil society organizations with persons with disabilities, and traffic management agencies also cooperate with that. So this is like a creation of school management committee in partnership with parents, traffic police, and road departments, which is responsible for the management to work out the traffic and road safety strategy during school hours, and ability to take local decisions to keep children safe. Then comes the road engineering part and traffic management element. The speed. Speed is the key element to reduce the severity of the crashes, where it was mentioned over there that prescribes speed limit and method of enforcement in the school zones is enforcing fixed speed limits and enforcing time-specific speed limits. So these in this part, SAZ and SPZ comes into play. On the urban road, it has been set up to 25, and in SPZ, it is 30, which is time-specific speed limits in the duration of different timings, incoming and outgoing, and all the other timings has been considered. In the various typologies of the road, it has been set to 25 to 20 on the local streets. Here comes the key intersections things also, because most of the schools have a direct relation with the coming from the intersection, and it is the most dangerous area because there are a lot of conflict point over there. So all the signages and all the legibility has been provided along the school zones. Creating a unique identity also, it's important to see that if something is coming on the road, we should have a legibility towards it, that we can have a clear visual of a proposed school zone. We have a prescribed speed limit in the school zones. Then we have pedestrian refuge island for the safe crossing in school zones, and pedestrian crossing from the in the at the entrances of the schools. It also includes tabletop crossings, refuge island, and safe gap for pedestrians, public transit stops falling within the school zones, and uh, and even cycle stands and other amenities should also be there. So this as a whole image, it looks like it is complete image of pedestrian crossing, guardrail, continuous footpath, pick and drop, safe crossing and cycling parking, and seating is there. So all these comes under access zone, proximal zone, and transition zone. So parents and children are also made part of it, that on the school bus or and the school have permit for operating school buses. So all these authority can check, and the school have all the document for the bus driver. Then comes to private van and all, that school operated van must have all the requirement document for the safety of the children. For the bicycle, also use helmet and retro reflective jacket for the rider, and for walk, to see and to be seen. Do not do the texting on the mobile while walking. So these checklists have also been provided in the document. So this document is finally published in 2024. So you can have this document from IRC. It's readily available over there. With that principle, so WRI India is already mean the time of these guideline has been published. So we have done these trials along our around Delhi. So this is first example. We have created a school zone identity tour, Mandir Marg Delhi, which has been done by 3M with the support of 3M. So we have done a tactical urbanism trial because there are two schools which lies on the two crucial intersection, and one intersection is just next to the school opening. So we have conducted these trials. We have provided the tactical urbanism material. We have done that trial for 2 or 3 months. We have observed that how it has been changing the behavior, and also is it like safe for children again. Then this, along with this thing, as a part of Streets for Public campaign by Mahua, so we have conducted this trial in Gurugram. Then this comes as a Mount Olympus School in Gurugram, which has been done by FIA Foundation. So these are the three examples which we have created. So I'll hand it over to Chetan again, and maybe Ruchi will explain it better, who is partnering with us for this webinar, and she'll be explaining how she'll be able to do the maximum change in Delhi. Over to you, Chetan.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks a lot, Aftar, for this. So specifically, thanks for the comprehensive presentation of understanding what IRC SP32 guidelines are and the behind the scenes and efforts. Now moving towards the next important part, which is to learn how to make these policies to move to ground. Like I mentioned earlier, while these codes provide valuable framework, they might not cover every context or challenge. There's still opportunities for refinement, adaptation to ensure that they truly respond to the diverse reality of societies. For that, now I request Ruchi Verma, the founder and CEO of Humanqind, to take us through her presentation and learnings of the city in Delhi. Yeah, over to you, Ruchi.
Thank you and welcome, everyone. I heard the opening comments, and I think the best way is not to do this alone. And I think schools and school children can be really great partners in building a very future forward uh, neighborhood and a city we deserve. So I will be presenting our work done with the Delhi government. This is Delhi government's Safe School Zone initiative, and we are partners to Trip Center IIT Delhi, and we collaborated with the Transport Department, which is the lead agency for road safety in Delhi. A little about Humanqind. Our only mission is to empower children to co-design their world of care and well-being. And strategically, our flagship program is looking at school-going experiences, which is a bit more than school zones. But we love co-creating with community as well as the government. And the following slides will show the impact we have been able to create so far. We all get worried about statistics a lot, but I think the perspective on these statistics has not sort of internalized with parents, teachers, or even government stakeholders. The numbers are definitely startling, and these are just fatalities. But 45 children die every day in India due to road traffic injuries. And in terms of like understanding, it's almost like removing one classroom a day. And if India has about 40% of children who are suffering from physical safety and mental health due to road traffic injuries, which is another 41%, they themselves acknowledge that they have no say agency in decision making and lead invisible lives. So when the Delhi government opportunity came our way, we knew that we had to think for innovation. A new community government model was therefore conceptualized, and it had to be an ecosystem solution. At Humankind, we look at compassion and care as our values. So we also wanted to look at not just create asset creation, but also look at how do we embed a safety culture and help schools develop those practices. Not just schools, but how do schools make government accountable as well. We look at data and a lot of evidence from our context. We make the solution stakeholder appropriate, and four critical principles guide our work. principles of traffic safety, human rights, ladder of participation, that is how do you engage children in your work, and also the sustainable development goals that India is signatory to. So the part one of this work is predominantly looking at how do you empower school communities. Our flagship program, the Crosswalk Initiative, does this in three parts. The first is we establish core teams at school. In this, it's not clubs with teachers or students, but all critical members of the school community, because everybody has a role in school going, travel, commute experiences. The second is our six-step model, where everybody through these six steps, and I'll talk to them more, experiences their own school environment to co-design a solution. And finally, this solution is submitted to the government, and then we can support or create these demonstration projects. What you see on the screen is a snapshot of these six co-creation steps, where the Road Safety Club perhaps aligns themselves to these traffic principles, safety principles, and understands their own role and responsibility. Each member has a critical role to play. Then the school travel data is collected. Every year, if this is collected, because there are new students going in and out, and a database is prepared so that decisions can be taken. Based on that data, a design is said. This is usually done by a middle school. Usually we go for class 6. That class creates the blueprint, but they take it to the whole school through these open exhibitions that happen all the week long. And everybody votes for it. Finally, the school understands Indian Road Congress guidelines through the implementation process, as well as with traffic police, they understand safe school zone management. These are basically real learnings, and by experiencing their blueprint in action, they kind of internalize the principles as well as the knowledge available. So what you see on the screen is these data-driven blueprints that are in compliance with IRC codes. Students actually interact with such data and then inform their parents or question authorities on it. We've been able to, so far through these 11 school zones, come up with a solution which is school system agnostic, any typology, any gender. And we are working with 8 government schools at the moment and 3 private schools. These are one every district. But the second part is also looking at an ecosystem improvement with government through a partnership with lead agency, and through them via the education department. These core teams, which are now called road safety clubs, are institutionalized in every school under the Directorate of Education. They all will follow the same method. Under the lead agency for road safety, they're also looking at district road safety committees, which is as per the Supreme Court Committee of Road Safety. And district road safety committees are also core teams of the district, representation of all these agencies. Therefore, it becomes a very critical role that these DRSCs get connected to the road safety clubs. And through the 6-step process, when the proposal comes to the government, they start leading that towards implementation and management. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about the DRSCs and while they are units established because of the Supreme Court Committee of Road Safety, I also see them as a very unique way of learning and building capacity building on these IRC guidelines. While SP 32/2023 is related to safer commute to schools, there is a relationship to all these other guidelines, whether it be geometric standards, traffic calming, road design, road signs, markings, pedestrian fatalities, and these are real conversations that happen during the district road safety committees. The DM, the district magistrate, is the chair of these committees, and they also build these learnings on these codes because they are real applied learnings. They also understand these challenges of budget, the challenges of, why an action is not taken, and they become really living labs, I must say, where real conditions are tested. These forums not necessarily are in the DM office. A lot of time they are also in the school. These are DRSC meetings happening in the school. These are DRSC happening in the school zone. And the students are actually active decision makers and change makers here, where they learn about governance and the challenges that are coming for implementing their proposal. What has happened so far in this project is once Safe School Zone is ready for implementation is in all districts. Recently with IIT Delhi, we were able to submit the district road safety reports, and one school zone is part of each of these reports. What has also happened is that we started with a small initiative in one school, which I will show you in the next slides, which built a 250-meter project. But through this initiative of the Delhi government, they have a potential opportunity to increase to 10 kilometers of school streets designed by their own students, and also make a lot of crash locations safe. How we do this internally at Humankind is through a lot of proximate leadership. We do it through our fellows. We also do it through school alumni who have helped us immensely to collect data of their own school. And we also bring in community volunteers to connect the school back to their neighborhoods. So we are now at a point where India has its first school zone designed by India's Young. This is called 250 Meters of Happiness. It is the project of District South and implemented by the Public Works Department. The 250 Meter of Happiness Street is anchored by the DAV Vasant School. That was the pilot school that started this movement. And the school is surrounded by three other government schools. So we have school children from 6:30 in the morning to 6:30 in the evening, about 10,000 of them. Every day, looking at a car-centered environment. Children were on the street and cars were on the sidewalks. Parents were squeezed between car parking and nobody knew how to move in a safe manner. Children would internalize all of this. And when you go and teach them road safety, they will always tell you, only teach what you can apply yourself. And also research always tells us not to teach road safety. So the best part was co-creation. And when you start asking these young kids, this is a 9-year-old, we started working with 9-year-olds actually. And this was class 4. And they see the problem, but they also know that if there would be more and more cars, there would be nobody roaming on the street, because eventually we'll all die. So this young class of 50 young 9-year-olds put together a proposal, which was the first blueprint of 250 Meters of Happiness. The name has been given by the kids. It's a complete agency model that that the road safety clubs bring together. In this model, they knew how they wanted traffic calming. They also knew how the car should be parked. They wanted to see presence of policemen. They knew they wanted color and spaces for their moms to sit. There were trees on one side of the street, but not the other. So they really demanded streets. And in a way, I personally was really amazed at the wisdom that this young class already had, but nobody was asking them. Through Humankind then used our technical skills and converted this into a shared vision for the community. This was then signed off by the principal. I believe she's also in the call here. And Mrs. Anjupuri is the former principal of DAV Vasant Kunj. This plan was signed and given to the Public Works Department for implementation. What I would also like to highlight is the implementation phase was the critical phase, where all these guidance in the guidelines, manuals gets actually internalized by even school decision makers, because then they know what a footpath means, like they know what tactile flooring means, like what does it mean to create traffic calmings, what does it mean to look at active transport. And these are constant meetings happening with the Public Works Department, with the school estate in charges, the principals and the road safety coordinators. And the students, especially students with special needs, were volunteering to test the ramps, etc., as they were happening. So it was, the school zone became an active lab. What also happened is, while the project started with one school, as the implementation started happening, the other three schools got involved. Students of these three schools did community projects. So the first one is, if you visit 250 meters of happiness, there is glass mosaic art on the footpath, which is telling the story of the street. Six student artists collaborated with an international artist and developed the 50 meters safety promise, a street art wall, talking about role of children above vehicles. And also the new trees were planted with every stakeholder from each school. So what you see on your screen is what DAV Vasant Kunj was in the street was before, and now what it is, with traffic calmings, areas to cycle, to the pedestrian environments, traffic calming, how the conflict between car and vehicle, car and pedestrian would happen. So all of these details have become now a learning lab for a lot more other schools and the public works department itself. What you see on the top is how the street was, and what you see on the bottom is it today. So I'll just go through a quick photos. What does it mean to create a child-centric in school environment? They wanted drop-off lanes. You wanted to have spaces for your cycles. You wanted to cycle safely. A lot of children told us that the parents don't allow them to cycle just because of their parents having a lot of fear. And then you also need to have segregated footpaths. How do you allocate space for active mobility? Children wanted to cycle, now they can. What does safe pedestrian environments mean? Does it only mean a footpath, or you could add other waiting areas, some play spaces, spaces of pause? How do you make safe and compact intersections? This was one of the toughest challenges also, because every public works department wants to not stop car, and just asking about how do you create the right turning radii, how do you make a child visible when the car is passing by. All of these were huge obstacles that together we have crossed for District South. What does it mean to have school-specific signage and marking? And SP 32 and IRC 35 and IRC 67 has been thoroughly implemented in these school access zone, proximate zone, and transition zone. Also, does it only mean to create footpaths and cycle tracks, or you can bring education out? So teachers of these schools collaborated with us and suggested to us what learning aid would they like, whether it is solar system, simple mathematics, or even the nostalgic snakes and ladders. What does play look like in these environments, and what do vendor spaces look like? How do mothers wait because of time poverty? This is the only time when they want to socialize, but they want to also look at their children play. So how do you create these inputs? How does children, especially van children who have some time, not stand, but at least do some form of, activity and become a place of joy? And finally, after this entire implementation thing, we also look at management. So management cannot be done if, again, we are not standing together. And in this case, the school guards, the school estate in charge, and also parents started playing a pretty important role. But it does not absolve responsibility of the government, and traffic police has been slowly taking and gaining their responsibility here. They recently conducted an annual Safe School Management workshop with all the three schools, where children told them the current problems, and the present DRSC is taking action on those. But it doesn't stop with only school. When you invest in school zones, it becomes a public space for the community. It becomes spaces to play for the children who don't go to these schools. At the end, it is a community government model that builds shared futures. We saw what it looks like when everybody comes together, whether it is the political, the bureaucratic, the RWA, the schools, the public works department. But we also saw what happens with children who are from low income communities, how they use spaces, what type of conversations start happening. And also we have to understand that schools are not only education spaces, they are community infrastructure spaces. So these school zones become election centers later, and the elderly show up. And I was pretty proud to see that every elderly was feeling like dignified in their experience of voting. So where Delhi has reached right now is, as I mentioned, we have reached from 250 meters implemented to a 10-kilometer expected implementation. But by only working with one school each, we have been able to reach 4 schools in the first school zone, but 30 schools if the other 10 get implemented, and approximately 100,000 families. Delhi is in a way institutionalizing this very unique model where we see a very huge potential role of the lead agency for road safety. Districts already have started discussing on expansion plans. We are also looking at if program improvement comes and how it comes in the education department as well as the road owning agencies. But since we are all concerned about our kids, I think the best part is also to see how we have been able to sustain these momentums by road safety clubs. Children continue to hold exhibitions because problems still remain while they are not extreme severe risk. Everyday commute might have problems, for example how people park, or but these are smaller challenges that a school community can take up. How do they remain strong advocates of safety, but also how they become community storytellers? So the school has started organizing walks, and last year we did our first walk, and thereafter we've done multiple training programs using the street as a learning tool. And recently, the students also got an equal seat at the table with, uh, uh, you know, uh, key decision makers, where
Yeah,
they are
Ruchi,
championing now for a safe
just a
childhood.
time check. We are about to be close to the panel discussion.
So, as I end, I really want to share that what Delhi has been able to do is look at not just safety, but a very broad spectrum of what safety and psychological safety can bring in. And definitely for children, it has been more like a civics book in action. So thank you for the opportunity here to listen, and happy to take questions and connect later.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Ruchi, for that wonderful presentation. Specifically, the widespread the presentation had, covering the spectrum from policy to governance to engagement to spreading awareness to getting to implementation, further also looking to post-implementation management. So one of the great learnings that I take from the presentation is that collaboration is the key and shared responsibility. Not to take more time, let's move forward towards the panel discussion. And I would like all the panelists to turn on their videos. And I would like to invite Akanksha Agarwal, Program Manager, Integrated Transport and Road Safety, WRI India, to moderate this panel discussion. Thank you again to Ruchi and Avtar for the wonderful presentations.
Thanks, Chetan. Okay, let's begin with a panel discussion. If everyone can put on their videos, and if you can, yeah, thanks. Thanks to all the panelists. I would now like to introduce the panelists for the session. Mr. Chaitanya Prasad, IAS, DM, Southwest District, Delhi. Mr. Akhilesh Srivastav, President, International Road Federation, India Chapter. Ms. Hemlata K, Superintending Engineer, Road Infrastructure at BBMP. Dr. Mukti Advani, Senior Principal Scientist, CRRI, and Ms. Sanskriti Menon, Senior Program Director for the Center of Environment and Education. We're also honored to have Dr. Geetam Tiwari, who's kindly agreed to join us for this dialogue, and we'll hear from her towards the end of the panel discussion. Thank you all for joining us. A very warm welcome. A quick note to all the panelists. Some of the questions might be directed to one panelist. However, if you'd like to add to it, do raise your hand using the Zoom button. A reminder to the audience also that you can share your questions in the Q&A box. The panelist will respond to them. With that, let's begin. I would like to draw from both the presentations shared previously. We have a lot of policies, we have guidelines, we've implemented some pilots as well. There are several awareness initiatives, and it's heartening to see the work that has happened in Delhi as well, shared by Ruchi. So there is intent, right? There is effort, there is intent. However, the numbers on child crashes and the fatalities and the lived experiences on our streets, they tell a very different story. I'd like to start with Chaitanya sir. Delhi has piloted several school safety initiatives, including the Safe School Zone work, which was just showcased right now. So, what have been your most important learnings about institutional coordination and budget allocation for such projects?
Well, thank you, Akanksha, for this inviting me today. Thank you, WRI. Good afternoon, everyone. See, I am fortunate actually to be part of the initial Safe School project that was developed in DA Vasant Kunj. At that time, I was posted as DM South Delhi. I was there for a good 2 years and 3 months. So I've seen it coming up, very much. What Delhi has done, it has integrated this as part of the District Road Safety Committee. Since this webinar is from policy to practice, I will tell the policy framework that we have. In, I think, 2022, I was posted in UT of Daman. That time, there was a letter from Supreme Court Committee on Road Safety. So they've institutionalized a mechanism called District Road Safety Committees. So the broad guidelines and the mandate that was given was mainly to bring a district as a centerpiece, as a fulcrum, to focus on basically the road safety networks within the district. This can include crash accidents, the intervention that can happen and all. But what is also left out and what can be done is something that Delhi has done. I have to appreciate TRIP and especially the Humankind, the interventions that are suggested by Ruchi. Totally, only with her help and coordination, we could pull this off. But my biggest learning, as you asked, is in bureaucracy, there is always a temptation, to focus on top-down approach, meaning to say, what we sit in the drawing room and what we decide, and who are not part of the, problem. Generally, we tend to design solutions for that. What I've seen in this case is that this is a long-run process built over a period of years where the road safety clubs are developed in the schools. Generally, for electoral purposes, we have electoral literacy clubs. Like that, we have to see it in the ecosystem, meaning to say it is not just children, it is the school teachers, the principals, who were there over a period of time, the parents, even the traffic police, even the drivers who commute over there daily. Because what we imagine a school zone in places like Delhi, in other places in villages or in small municipalities, school is located at a faraway place where kids can generally walk, they can go. But in places like Delhi, they're right put on the highway. So that brings lot of conflict. In that sense, morning there'll be lot of chaos. You see around 4,000 children going in. Coming out at the same time. The parents waiting and a few people who are cycling. So this is one learning that the solution has to come from bottom up. You involve all the stakeholders, then plan for it. Also, we need some kind of help. For example, we're fortunate to have Humankind, to be part with us, and since Trip Center was there to help us analyze, because these road safety standards and the IRCs that you've been mentioning, of course, the lead agency is PWD, but somewhere there has to be guidance for the PWD department also. How well this can be done, and also the maintenance part, as I'm saying, the maintenance part has also to be factored in. Generally what happens in government projects is that they build, they go. And after that, any small issue, we need to come back again to the drawing table. And the second thing with respect to funds, I think through the Supreme Court committee only, I was in discussion with Ms. Ruchi that as on date, the DRSs are bereft of funds. If state government gives something, then we have. But otherwise, one idea that can perhaps be thought about is the traffic police collects a lot of fines in traffic challans. Perhaps if they can be routed to the districts, because district is a key center where there is IRAD, road accident database, the interventions can be planned. Perhaps for school zones, school clubs, we can encourage solutions from there, and later we can integrate into the policy. So these are few learnings, and if few of the members are from Delhi, I surely, would invite you to make a visit to DAV Vasant Kunj. And I was also moved by a story that was narrated by Mrs. Anju. There was a fatal accident in front of the school in DAV, wherein a child, was lost, and one child was amputated. Was disabled. So this has also led to a lot of thinking, and the district road club, safety club in the school, they played a key role in this. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for sharing your views, and thanks very much for underlining the importance of taking a bottoms-up approach, really designing solutions for those who matter. And on that front, we have Miss Sanskriti. Ma'am, you have worked very deeply on the Pune cycle plan, and that was done through an extensive participatory process, I believe. So, what strategies do you think have worked best when it comes to building community ownership, local ownership around the safe school zone, and especially in spaces, where budget or political will is a little limited?
Thanks, Akanksha, and good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for this discussion. And I think the serious concerns highlighted by Pawan initially, we really welcome the work on IRC 32. It's always inspirational to hear Ruchi too. Just briefly about CE first. So CEE, which is the Center for Environment Education, this is a national institute with a mandate to enhance environmental understanding and action nationwide. And we work with schools and youth across the country. So this is a topic which is really close to, what our major, the community that we work with. So we have been working closely with schools in Jorhat in Assam, and similarly to work with the students and the schools community to audit the school zone and with IIT Guwahati, and to work with the local municipal government to put in place a safer infrastructure. And as you mentioned, we worked with the Pune Municipal Corporation with iTrans and Kusanavese Architects as consultants to prepare the Pune cycle plan. But we also have been working more recently with the Pune District Road Safety Committee. And as Ruchi mentioned, and as Mr. Chaitanya also mentioned, that DRSCs are quite very important bodies now, because they become the multi-stakeholder forum for departments at least, to bring in all the entities that become responsible for putting in place the safer, looking at it through a safe assistance approach. And besides that, the core work that we do, which has been with also environmental education, which is that we work closely with NCRT, and we've been developing new textbooks. And in Maharashtra, C is also the nodal agency for the Environment Service Team. And so now learning about the safe systems approach, and also knowing, as Ruchi pointed out, that it's not that you teach children road safety, but have children become engaged and the school community become engaged in assessing the school street and assessing how children are coming to school, bringing this into the, highlights this concern and become active sort of demand for safer school streets. And so the effort in the new textbook does have an activity like that, where students are expected or encouraged to tell the school safety committee about after doing a participatory assessment where they feel uncomfortable or unsafe, and that this is something that the school management committee then should write to the municipal authorities and to the district road safety committee to say that do the audit and put in place this the safe school zone. So basically, we have been partnering with the local administrations and also now the Gujarat Road Safety Authority, the UNICEF, and other such global organizations, etc., to really work on child road safety, child and adolescent road safety at the policy level as well, and at the local level with the schools, and then with the DRSC at the municipal corporations. What we find is that often there is no community platform, there is no public platform where, when say street design work is happening, often the motor vehicle users are quite vocal, and they resist efforts to, make footpaths according to the specifications wide enough for children and safe enough so that children and other pedestrians are not walking on the carriageway. And so we find that it's very important to create community platforms where the needs of parents, children, cyclists, and pedestrians, these are also highlighted. And so this is one effort that we tried, which is a citizens assembly, where through random selection, a stratified random selection process, we were able to convene an inclusive group to give to have a discussion on the proposed redesigns in Pimpri-Chinchwad as part of their Harit Setu program for street improvement, where then there was a lot of focus on saying that we need better footpaths, etc. But they were also asking that once even if footpaths are made, what will the municipality do to keep these free? And enforcement, parking regulation. Even we are sympathetic to street vendors because they provide eyes on streets and they are, friendly environment. But how do we make sure that all of these are competing street users finally? How do they become synergistic and while still leave space adequate? So we feel that apart from the school zone, municipalities also have to work on parking regulation a lot and enforcement, because we often find that traffic police is very key to making a lot of this work, this management of the street. And they need to be very much a part of the discussion. And then we need these inclusive dialogue spaces where only the motorist voices are not the only ones being heard, but all these very, very important needs. And it's not that motorists won't understand that there are children and pedestrians, they are negotiating for their space, that the space is actually needed. So I think this is what we feel is really important. We also feel that the district road safety action plans and the committees must have a specific agenda item on child and adolescent road safety. And we feel that there's a need for very good, robust state road safety action plans, again, including child and adolescent road safety, but also then speed management, which becomes a big lacuna because who's deciding the speed, how is it being signposted, when land use changes, who becomes responsible to also change the speed limit and monitor this. So state and district road safety action plans with child and adolescent road safety as agenda items and as components, and then the speed management. We feel these are really important elements to build in.
Thank you, ma'am. And thanks for highlighting the role of municipal authorities essentially to be also taking up the maintenance, the regulations involved around these, because just designing a school zone clearly isn't enough. Since we're talking of municipal agencies, we have Hemlata ma'am from BBMP. Ma'am, I'd like to come to you next. Now, Bangalore has seen both challenges and successes in implementing pedestrian safety measures in the city, right? There is an urban design cell which has been formulated for street improvement. There's a handbook for street design called Nama Raste Kai PD. Then BBMP has also been working on a SATS initiative with support from some of the local partners. So can you share some of the lessons from your experience where you're actually trying to embed some of these ideas into everyday municipal practice?
Yeah. Uh, Thanks for getting me to this webinar. Actually, to start with, since Madam was telling about the responsibility of the municipality in these safe school initiatives. So,
Ma'am, your voice is a little patchy. Can you turn off the video and speak?
yeah, sure. Hello, hello, I'm audible?
Yes, we can.
Yeah. Um, uh, Actually, my ma'am was mentioning that was the role of municipalities or the non-local bodies in the safer school access or initiatives. So until I should mention here the WRI is the one week. It's like an eye-opening for us, because when they came with us when a presentation regarding the how what actually is why the importance of school safety is required. So that time we came to know the facts, like there is like one every week a child is been killed due to the road accident, that too in Bangalore. And 95 in a year, 95 children are being met with an accident or killed. So this was like very shocking news, because we didn't even thought about those things. So usually urban, like we usually lay the roads and do the footpaths based upon the convenience of the pedestrian, but not we never looked at the children's aspect, how the school child will go around and reach the school. So when this was showcased to us, when this was shown to us, we were really worried like what actually we are doing as a responsibility urban of your government people. We should do something for the city or for the for the school children. Then what actually we made it like, we didn't had a separate budget actually we had kept for this because we didn't add an idea also. Then that time we had planning for the concrete roads across the city. So what we thought like when anyway in the roads we do the footpaths also, and why don't we do the footpaths which is safe access for the children. So in that I don't know we have taken the topic around 1 kilometer all schools that are coming. So it may be the government school or the private school. That's uh, to
Ma'am, your network is patchy. Is it me, Chetan, or can others also?
No,
No.
I think there's a network issue. We're not able to hear.
Yes.
hello.
Yeah, now we can.
Yeah.
Yes, please go ahead.
Hello. Yeah. So when we did the analysis, like wherever we are planning for the the white topping works, we consider like around 1 kilometers of radius with those roads, and we were able to identify around 150 plus schools across those roads. So they were like from the private, from like there were some government schools, there were some private schools, but those were mapped in our thing. And then we thought of doing the accessible to the school at least 1 kilometer from the roads. So what we started doing is like with the same budget. We didn't do any additional budget. With whatever the budget we had, in the same budget, we started like, having the wider footpath so that the child can easily pass. And the wrong things which we were doing, the signages boards that people the child cannot read see what actually is written, all those ways been we started changing those things. So this is one aspect that we consider. Now we are already started, and we didn't know that how to design because many things like it's like IRC guidelines were given, and we wanted some designers to tell us like what actually it needs to be done, how the signages has to be done, how the footpath has been laid for the child so that the child can walk on the footpath. So some interesting creation can be done on the footpaths. So these are the things, some things we added in our works. So, so what we thought like is early stage it's very crucial for us to include this when we start the project rather than doing it after doing the because once we do the complete the works and then we want to retrofitting for the same things, it will become more expensive and disruptive. So we didn't want to that to happen. So we started with the whatever with the along with the work. That is one aspect. Then as I told, like now we have planned around 150 plus schools across Bangalore. So this is one initiative what we have taken, and now we have a urban design cell. As you mentioned, we have an urban design cell so that there are some designers with us who can make us. We can guide us like how actually we can do the things. So in this whatever we have planned, now mainly the widest we have made to width of the footpath is 2.5 kilometers, and the signages and the spaces for the waiting spaces for the parents. So some wherever we have some little wider footpaths, we are planning for the cycle track also because some few students who can ride the cycle also can be joined. Along with this thing, if we are also seeing up to if there is any open spaces or the playgrounds near to the schools, so that the child, if there is a, because nowadays the school usually doesn't have the playgrounds. So if there's any open spaces, we are planning to convert this as a playground and giving access from the school to the playground as well as the parks, so that the child can easily cross over and you make utilize of the open space as a playground. And some playing equipments are also been planning to be placed over there. So these are some initiatives that we have taken right now. And actually what actually we feel like we when we design for most vulnerable, like the for keeping the children's in the aspect, then it will be the footpath or the things will be, we create safer street for everyone. It will be for not only for children, it will be for everyone. So these are the things that what we actually Bangalore is doing right now.
Thank you, ma'am. And I couldn't agree with you more that metrics and data can really be eye-opening to inspire action, whether it's about designing, planning. So evidence-based approach becomes really critical. I'd now like to bring in Akhilesh, sir. Sir, you've worked extensively on integrating technology into these infrastructure upgrades and also on the star rating for schools program, which uses tool to inform some of these strategic investments. So we'd like to know from you, how do you think can digital tools or data systems be better leveraged to ensure safer routes to school, particularly in dense urban areas?
Thank you, Akansha. And I was listening the conversation, the guidelines, and then what work has been done by Ruchi and team. They keep on meeting me at different forums and meetings, so I'm aware of the things which are happening. So good, but let me just put a perspective differently. When we talk about India, and yeah, as you said, the congested places, the number is huge. Our number is in Delhi itself. We have around 5,500 schools, maybe a little more, 100 plus, and over roughly 4.5 million students go to these college schools. Roughly you say 5,000 or 5,500 school with nearly 45 lakh school attending this. When we talk about the India as a whole, there are 15 lakh school. These are registered school. I'm not talking about the unregistered or a different kind of, many schools are also available, maybe few lakhs. So let's say only 15 lakh schools are there, and the number of students going to these schools are 25 crores. So this is humanly not possible when you go with each school and start ensuring their safety. What Ruchi and the team is doing is perfectly, it's a brilliant job. But just look at the numbers which has been covered by an NGO. They have done exceedingly good, but limited. Out of 5,500 school in Delhi, not even 100 are touched till date. And the number of fatalities near the school, as per the that data which is available on Mouth website, near the school is roughly 7%. So at around 32 children are dying near the school. I will not say exactly in the school zone, but I mean, if you take data with a little broader view, so near the school or proximity zone put together. So many fatalities are taking place near the school. That means these are identified black spot zones. In a country with a really 65 lakh kilometer of road, accident being a random act, it is not possible to put camera or track every and avoid at every place on 6.5 million kilometer. But schools are limited, so at least those school zones can be thoroughly scrutinized. Now SP32 has given us a parameter. These are required mandatory things. These are the desirable requirements for ensuring safety in the school zone, signages and everything. So who checks it? Why not somebody is checking these, whether the school are complying these or they're not complying? That is what IRF has come up with, that we have devised, we converted this into a digital portal. We are so that this diagnosis or audit of the school zone can be done very quickly. We are also training people through our online course, creating experts who goes there, and just within a couple of days they diagnose. The first thing is to treat any illness is to diagnose what is actually happening. So they do diagnose, so we just audit and diagnose, wow, this is the scenario of school, and this is put on our portal. That portal with a color coding as per the severity. If this it is totally unsafe, it shows red, and poor marks are there, so that urgency, sense of urgency comes built into it. At least we're not saying that all school can be corrected immediately. I will share an data. We did this. This portal was launched by Honorable Minister himself in one of our event, and then we met the Ministry of Education. They gave a long list of schools and asked us to do it and do a pilot in 5 states. 10 schools in each state as a sample. You'll be surprised that the number of the result were 90% of the schools were unsafe. 48% were totally, it was severe. They were totally unsafe. There were no signages. There were nothing which is required as per that IRC code. Only one school in Bangalore, thanks to Imlata, she is here. So one school was safe. Three were in risky zone, and rest the whole country the scenario was more or less same. So that's what I say. At least let's first diagnose it, because majority are unsafe. Once it is diagnosed, put it into a public domain. Let the parents and everybody know the safety is also one of the criteria to send the child to a school. Not only the academics of that school, the safety of child also, because 32 children are not coming back from schools every day with these numbers. So why not? That can be that should be done. So let's first diagnose and then prioritize. Even if a school, it is not corrected immediately, but a school is unsafe, it is red, at least put a board there that school is unsafe, so children and parents are aware that we are entering into an unsafe zone, and they will be mentally prepared. They will not be taken by surprise by some accident and losing life. So my thing is that let use technology, the portal, and diagnose first. Let's diagnose all the school, do the ranking, and then prioritize, starting from the worst depending on the availability of fund. And this should be a part of this regular audit, should be reported to the district road safety committee, and let them to decide. The district magistrate is here. Once he knows that these 10 schools in my districts are totally unsafe, I'm sure Mr. Chaitanya will immediately say who are the principals and who are the PWD officers here. Rectify it in 10 next as early as possible. Otherwise, I know here accident can happen any day. So that's what my opinion, if we really want to solve this problem. Thank you. I won't take much time, Kancha. Let's
No,
listen.
thank you so much, sir. And some of what you've said deeply resonates with what we were also thinking when we started to conceptualize this webinar. This question on the scalability, right? How do we move beyond one or two? And at this point, just to build on this, I'd like to now invite Mukti ma'am here. Ma'am, the recent revision of IRC SP 32, what sir was also talking about, it shows that there is some progress on paper, right? But from a research and standards perspective, because we're all working in so many different cities, how do you think we can ensure these guidelines, while they are done at the national level, they can be adapted to the local context without diluting their effectiveness?
Thank you. We all jointly developed IRC, I will say. Almost everyone here might have contributed directly or indirectly. Now, from the implementation side, as long as I am aware about, most of the kind of, sample cases, even Humanqind, which he has done, or few others also we know, most of them have been on the urban side, urban area. Of course, it was very much required, and it proves the, point of what making of IRC 32 was. At the same time, all who are still on the implementation side, even like Chaitanya was mentioning, I will prefer one such similar implementation on national highway, a school on national highway. Another one could be on the maybe state highway. Third one could be on the rural road or collector road, because in guideline, there are all options possible. All here, Professor Geeta ma'am is here. We all have included so many templates. So if the school at the intersection, what should be the possible solution? If it's on the national highway without service lane, what should be so basically we need to have this spread. It's great to have 11 schools in Delhi. Of course, it has an impact, a great impact. But a similar thing now, samples should be on the all other area apart from Delhi. And honestly, we usually start everything from the urban area, which is very complex. So, but it has a more visibility, of course. But someone should start from the rural, whoever is involved in the implementing agency, collect the roads, rural area. That would be the, I think, more influential, and not only in the north or Delhi. It should spread on the one in the north and another on south, east, west, and all kind of. This will provide the visibility and surrounding area get influence. I think that is the one way of handling it. And as I think someone at the very beginning said, it's a basically bottom-up approach, what humankind adopted. Yes, definitely, it is working well. It's basically something is proved. So we have to follow it simple. At the same times, in the ladder of from moving from bottom to up, in between what comes is the engineers. I'm also an engineer, but engineering as a PWD engineer, engineer is in a consult as a consultant, whatever way. Ultimately, if I am designing, I think there is some intervention required to make sure that whoever engineers are getting involved have been trained for speed as well as safety. Because I mean, we like it or not, 80% engineers are trained for speed and not for safety. So and then we have to do all, extra budgeting. And someone was saying like later on correction things on the road. Why do we create that once you build the road and then we will improve through the school zone safety? Every single road, whenever it is being built, whenever it is being designed, whenever it is being planned in terms of traffic management, there itself, these all is a part of it. If you don't have budget, don't build new roads. That's how something safe, or we don't have it at all. So I think if we take care of all couple of things, whatever we implement, it will have a more impact. I think I will restrict myself to this comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. I know this is a topic where we can keep going on and on to talk, and I am also curious to hear from Professor Tiwari. But just before we move to her, I'd like to open one question to all panelists at this time. We've all shared our perspectives. Now, given the scale of the problem, right, and given that we have so much to do, if you had to just pick one practical change, I know I'm putting you on the spot, but just very quick phrase on one practical change that we had to take up to not be to actually embedding child safety into urban planning, and not just as a special project or something which comes up as an afterthought. So yeah, just very quick thoughts on what is that one practical change, if you could very briefly share from all panelists. We'll start with Chaitanya sir.
Perhaps if you may ask me, I mean, I would say the planning has to be devolved to the local level. I mean, that is what we see in other countries also. I mean, the people at the higher level, they'll be only overlooking the affairs of the nation, say foreign affairs, defense, interstate commerce, currency. I mean, the smaller things, they have to be devolved to municipalities and further, I mean, district levels. And that is when the policies work. Otherwise, we have some plan and the concurrence has to be given from somewhere else at the top. That is where things get a bit delayed.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for laying that out. Sanskriti ma'am, would you like to go next?
Yeah, I'm torn between so many. So, see, currently what happens is there's this school safety guidelines from the Department of School and Elementary Education. And that is saying that the responsibility of the school management committee is within the school, right? And but it does say that they should be concerned. I think for school managements to take this a little bit of the onus on them to demand for how children are coming and going from school more safely, and empowering them, the school management committees, to actually open their mouth and write to the municipal authorities, and specifically the district road safety committees, that our school zones are not safe. You need to do this. And there are school safety committees, school management committees. They need to be more articulate, more visible. This understanding that we can just teach children to walk safely to school or whatever it is. Just flipping that and saying it's our responsibility, and then ensuring that the authorities are working with the schools to make the schools safer. I think that's what would be very important.
Rightly put. Thank you. We'd move to Hemlata ma'am. Would you like to go next? Okay, in the meanwhile, we'll move to Akhilesh, sir. Can someone from the team also figure out if Hemlata ma'am is still on the call?
Yeah.
Sir,
Yeah. So if I say one line is will we diagnose, I will say that's the first beginning. Once we diagnose the what is how safe our school zones are, then next of the rest of the action starts from.
thank you. Mukti ma'am.
Uh, if it's a one line, I will say if we have budget for new roads, then we can't say at all that we don't have budget for all anything related to safety. This is for implementing agency or maybe policy decision makers.
Absolutely agree on that. Yes, ma'am, would you like to add? Please go ahead.
Yeah, I was also wondering whether we don't need a, participatory first policy formulation on children and adolescent road safety. So it's not that we have a lack of policy or legislation. It's just that if it's a participatory policy formulation process, then it brings everybody into thinking about it. I think that might be a good process in which to highlight these concerns, get all the silent people who suffer from the lack of facilities made for them, and that they are able to say what is needed as well.
Certainly. Hemlata ma'am, are you here with us?
Yeah. Sorry, I just missed I was in the call. The thing we should have a mindset of doing it. That's what actually I feel, because as a priority, this is not like we are doing something for the thing, but it's a mandate that we need to include these things when we design or plan for the city. As a, like whenever we do the roads, we should always keep in the school access also as a agenda, like one of the common point. And as per and we need to it must be inclusive of our design part. Actually, what actually I want to say is it must be a part of our design only. We should like we are not doing something great for them, but we should do it may be a part of the policy.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you to all our panelists for such insightful perspectives. We've heard on the need of stronger community engagement, planning at local level, schools demanding really safe access for the children, and many more. But I'd not like take more time now. I want to invite Professor Tiwari now to help us look ahead and reflect on how these ideas can be turned into sort of concrete next steps. I take great honor to invite Professor Geetam Tiwari, an emeritus professor at the Transportation Research and Injury Prevention Center, IIT Delhi, to share the way forward and a call to action inspired by today's discussion. Professor Tiwari is a global expert with extensive expertise in transportation planning and traffic safety. And her research, which includes numerous publications, has been instrumental in shaping policies on public transit, pedestrian infrastructure, cycle infrastructure, and road safety. Without further ado, ma'am, over to you.
Thank you so much. First of all, I'd like to congratulate WRI and Humankind and all other partners for organizing this extremely important webinar and really putting together panelists and a set of experts who have shared excellent insights and ideas to take this agenda forward. So if the main agenda here today we are discussing is about children's safety, school safety, and so many of you have talked about all the numbers in the beginning, your background material also. But I think one important thing we have to keep it in mind that this aspect is not just about road safety. This we are extending, and we have to understand that unsafe roads create many other issues with children. For example, if parents are not allowing them to walk or bicycle, they have huge impact on their mental and physical development. And they never become the kind of experiences that many of us shared in the chat box also. You know, the joy and the happiness of walking, playing with your friends, and actually going to school is a happy activity. We have turned, it has become now a stressful activity, in not all, but in many urban cases. So we have to understand and really enlarge our discussion point that it's not just about looking at children getting hurt in traffic crashes, but what is happening to their basically understanding of active transport, lack of active transport leading to mental and physical impairment issues, and depriving them of many aspects of healthy development, and becoming a citizen where you have internalized the idea of traffic safety, and not just, again, I would say traffic safety, but sustainable active transport aspects. So first of all, we should expand our discussion horizon, because then we don't limit only to auditing a school, or in fact just changing, working with public works department and changing a street. This is going much beyond it. And I think that is where, so the guidelines are extremely important. So updating this IRC guideline is a really major step forward. And I think after a few years, one can re-look at the guidelines and see that there are very useful checklists. How can we go beyond these checklists in terms of creating SOPs for various stakeholders? But coming back to how I think the important aspect is creating a safe street is one of the outcomes only. But the aspect that we want to really, I think we should, the way forward should be working with many stakeholders and making everybody responsible the way it has been done in road safety clubs. For example, there the education department is involved, the school teachers are involved, the parents are involved, and children are not being told about rules and regulations. We are listening to them. They are articulating their problems. And during that discussion, they are also discussing solutions. And what probably Ruchi has not highlighted, but many of you must have experienced also, none of these large public stakeholder meetings are easy, because there are always conflicts, and we have to learn to bring consensus. And because somebody, a parent coming in a car does not like that the car is going to get a second hand treatment now, and pedestrians will get priority. So how do we bring consensus? That itself is a life learning skill. So I think really working with children in listening to them and co-creating with them, and that's where the experts are required and guidelines are required. And I think the way forward here is because we are looking at scalability, because yes, it's not about 10 schools, 250 schools or all, but we have to really scale up the whole effort and bringing this, internalizing this culture of safety amongst children, because eventually they will grow up to be adults and they will become our future Chaitanyas or future Akhilesh Srivastav or, many of the other experts who are working in public works department or education department. So they should be internalizing this aspect from the beginning. So what is required is institutionalizing it. And the institutionalization can occur, as we see in this current ecosystem, that education department has a very important role to play. So if the direction comes from education department, it goes to all schools, and with very details that how you start working with children, and how this has what kind of data has to be collected and what needs to be done, not 1 year, but year after year after year. It has to become a sustained activity. And once we are talking about sustainability, and then we are taking all these solutions to district road safety committee, which is, I think, is a major step towards institutionalizing it. uh, One more missing link we could actually start looking into is that dear district road safety committees are being monitored by state level lead agencies, and state level lead agencies do have a budget and funds that earlier it's been discussed here also, because Supreme Court committee in fact mandated that the not just the challans but many other there are many other options of creating road safety fund only dedicated to road safety activities, which is what the state lead agency has, and DRSCs should be asked to request for those funds, and they can do it if they have their concrete action plans with them. And the action plan has come from really bottom up, whether it is a junction improvement, or let's say here we are talking about children and school safety. So the district schools have submitted their request, which DRSC has vetted with many other departments, and then requesting lead agency to, in addition to the funds, which is already available with Public Works Department, and which is what Mukti also talked about, because there are roads being upgraded all the time. But if there are additionalities, then that is what should maybe coming from lead agencies. And so this is one way of institutionalizing it. And I think the something that I think Mr. Chaitanya also talked about, and perhaps Ms. Hemlata also, that what is required is also hand-holding, the municipal public works department engineers or municipalities, or for that matter, DRSCs. That is, they would need some expert advice for some time, and that would require additional funding. For that, public works department may not have additional funds. So that is where then lead agency can chip in, and then bring in the experts to work with DRSC, to work with additional capacity building of public works department. But I think the key word really is listening to children, co-designing with them, and institutionalizing this effort. And I think I just want to close this really wonderful webinar with that we really hope that with this kind of ecosystem, and if we are able to, I think it's not that difficult to institutionalize, because we are almost there. And we have shown, WRI showing with a lot of demonstration projects what is possible, etc. But now we have to just move beyond demonstration projects. So we really hope that with this we can create, I think Ruchi said this, create a place of joy for children. School going and just playing outside, waiting for their mothers or children, it becomes that, creating a public space, which is again going beyond that, just, doing something on the road. So I think this is where I would really, highlight and endorse this, the importance of scaling. Scalability comes from institutionalization. And if all the civil society groups are doing this wonderful work, if they can do work closely with district road safety committees, and district road safety committees can really work closely with road safety management, because that has come, the mandate has come from the education department, and additional funds are available from lead agencies. So with this kind of creating an ecosystem at state level, I think all 33 states can move forward in a very definitive way, and we can set some targets for next 5 years, what can be achieved with this. Lots of joyful places. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for joining us and really bringing in the perspective of physical and mental health concerns and how unsafe roads can really impair a child's development in the long run. Just to summarize, I mean, there's a lot to say, but absolutely, I think there's no one on the webinar here who wouldn't agree that engaging children as very important stakeholders and co-creating with them is critical to ensure that these design standards become a lived reality. Oh, back to you, Chetan.
Yeah, actually, thank you all, the panelists, Geeta ma'am and Akanksha, for keeping the session so engaging that I can see so many people still waiting and trying to listen more. I'm really sorry at the moment, we might not be able to take questions from audiences, but I hope all of our questions were addressed by panelists in Q&A boxes. If they're not, we'll get back to you specifically through other mediums to go to that. And before going towards the closing remarks by Dhawal Asher and Ruchi Verma, We are sharing a small feedback link in the chat. We request all the participants to share their views regarding the same. And we're looking forward to learn from you, from your active feedback, and take things forward. Now, I would like to invite Dhaval Asher, Associate Program Director, Transport at WRI India, and Ruchi, founder and CEO of Humanqind, for their closing remarks for today's session. We start with Dhaval. Do you want to go first? And then we'll go to Ruchi.
No,
Yeah,
sure.
thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Chetan, and thank you for all of you who organized this really sort of very interesting, rich in information, and a very engaging webinar, starting with the presentations and then the panels. I mean, I don't have much more to say than what has already been said, but I want to pick up on one sentence or one line that Geeta ma'am said, with her experience of all these years kind of working on all of these issues that we've been engaged in. If she's saying that we are almost there, then I want to take that as a very encouraging sign. um and with that, I just wanted to, this would have been really interesting, if not really sometimes scary or concerning, but we're at a very interesting stage where the risk is really high. But I believe, ma'am, what you're saying by almost there is that we've got all the apparatus that can sort of take us through and make it joyful for all our children to kind of, be in the street realm. But I want to speak directly to everyone who's on the call as an attendee. If you're a sort of wherever you are in your professional journey to try to want to work on it, or if you're just really interested, I would request, urge, encourage, if you want to just write to us. We'll have a feedback link also, right? Yeah, which Chetan said about how you could get involved in it or whatever, and we can try to make like a, we can put it all together in a sheet and send it across to governments. We can actually host a follow-up conversation on that, on how can this community that is willing to want to make things better in terms of design, etc., grow. So yeah, I think I'll stop there. But thank you everyone again for being here in this webinar, and thank you to all my colleagues and Humankind for organizing this, and all the panelists for being a part of this conversation. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Just
thank you,
picking
Dhaval.
up from
Over
what
to you,
Dhaval just
Ruchi.
said,
Yeah.
thank you to each one of you, because I think you believe in this world where, children should be safe. And I do invite you to this world where children are equal. So I think by collaborating, we learn from each other. And I think this webinar exactly did that. We shared stories from different parts of the country. And hopefully the next 5 years, we can at least build a stronger collaborative model along with our decision makers here to literally go from not sprinkles of school zones, but really a culture of safety that takes India where it should be. So thank you to each one of you. Thank you, Akansha, Geeta ma'am, Chetan, Dhaval, Himlata ma'am, Sanskriti ma'am, Avtar, Ashma, Chaitanya, and Akhileshi. Thank you so much. We all hope that we come back another time with more success stories, and perhaps now the district magistrates presenting rather than the experts.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks
you.
a lot, Ruchi, for doing that. I would like to firstly thank everyone for such an engaging session that we still have close to 70 participants still attending all of this, right? So I understand how important the topic is, and apologies for extending this a little beyond the time that we thought. We are 15 minutes ahead, but any parting words from any of the panelists, then we end with the session here. Yeah. Yeah. Any
Look
panelists?
forward to a
Yeah,
follow-up session.
yeah, we're also looking forward to it, ma'am.
Yes.
And thanks for always being so supportive of all of these initiatives.
Thank you.
Thanks everybody. And maybe we should really create this child and adolescent road safety network as well.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chetan. Thank you.
Yeah.
You.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
And
Bye
yeah,
bye.
we'll close this. Thank you, everyone. Bye. Take care.